Hello, I'm David Hunt and welcome to the Art Hunter. My guest today, where do I begin to describe them? Yeah, the only thing is that I thought they might have come in costume. You know, like they're amazing, their costumes, which you'll see, you know, like as the show goes on. But you know, like they're just two normal guys today, you know, like here in the studio. But anyway, what can I say? What can I say? Let's talk about them. Photography, costumes, you know, like what they do is incredible. The costumes they actually make themselves, and the costumes are actually part of their personal, you know, like installation of what they do as photographers. And you know, like, and we're also going to be talking about the photography because I thought they would have brought teams of people in to do all the photography, but no, they don't. They've had exhibitions everywhere around the world and of course around Australia and events everywhere. Let's talk about, you know, like Sydney, they were up there for the big Pride event last year. London, Berlin, Moscow, just to name a few. Their photography, as I said before, is one of the main ingredients of what they do and why they have all this incredible you know, like history of really presenting something a bit special for us all. They're doing something called Disgrace Lands. You know, like, is it about something to do with Elvis? Is being very camp in a way. So let's meet them. As I said, I've got to apologise. I thought they were going to dress up, but they didn't. The Huxleys. Hello.
Hello. This is sort of casual, corporate casual, we call it.
Corporate casual.
Yeah.
Well, who's who?
I'm Will.
And I'm Garrett.
Garrett and Will, hello and thank you. What outfits? When I was asking you to come on and you said, oh, do you want us to be in costume or not? I said costume because why not? Our show is usually a lot more conservative and it's so wonderful to see you in your incredible costume. So thank you for doing it.
Ironically, we feel more comfortable being uncomfortable. So,
is it uncomfortable with
yes,
what you've got on?
Of course.
You get used to it, but yes.
Yeah.
I feel that people suffer for their art.
Suffer for their art,
yeah.
Now, you didn't have any experience you know, as dressmakers or designing costumes and all that. And you know, like tell us that story of how you got into all of this.
We're always attracted to fashion. It was something that both of us loved our whole lives, and you know, dressed when we were young queer kids, wearing really extreme like clothes and searching for vintage fabrics. But it was sort of Garrett sort of self-taught, and it was a necessity because the looks that we wanted to make for our images, we couldn't buy them or find them. So we had
I wonder why.
Yeah, it got to a point where what we wanted to present wasn't available, or it was just in our minds. So we had to step up and start making them.
But Gareth, how hard was it? You know, like with an outfit like this. Obviously, it's down the track now, and you're getting better at what you're doing. You're absolutely excellent at what you're doing now. But you know, in those early days, was there times where you went, "Oh no, that didn't work"?
There's always things that you don't consider. Like we've made a costume once and we just wanted to be these balls and we didn't have arms. So we couldn't get around, we couldn't open doors. So we had to have someone chaperone us around for the evening. And then there's sight. We never take, you know, this is quite a comfortable costume actually because we often don't have sight. You know, our vision's not that great in some costumes, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
It's quite dangerous.
Yeah, we can't breathe.
You can't breathe. Yeah. Because I can see your mouths now, yes, that you've got, you know, like lipstick and lots of glitter and I can see your eyes, yes, as well. Because you actually said to me when I spoke to you beforehand, you know, like, I will wear something that you'll actually be able to see our eyes and mouth, which thank you for doing that. Because I have seen a lot of photos where yeah, like it is. Your face is totally hidden, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we start drawing everything out. We draw shapes, and we were particularly attracted to surrealism and Dada and just the really beautiful shapes that don't actually make sense. There's no right or wrong to them. So a lot of we start drawing and then creating these shapes. We like the idea of it. It creates, like, you could be anything under them. You're anonymous, and it gives you a sense of freedom.
Is it for you? You know, like Gareth, you know, like, is it a real freedom of, you know, like you're somebody else when you're dressed in these outfits?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's like you put the makeup on and the costume, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go out on stage and sing, or I'm ready to do something. Yeah.
It makes us comfortable to be able to do that. You know, as Will and Garrett, we're both quite shy. I grew up being very shy, and it's the costume and the makeup and the wigs that give you the confidence to get out into the world and perform or take these images. Doing it as ourselves would be very challenging. But it started off more for photography, and now it's developed into, you know, like you're at events all the time. You know, like it's become a real performance part of your world as well. But you know, like I love the story that you've told me about the fact that when you go on a shoot and you dress like this and you're out and about, that because you're you know, like you studied photography, that you're actually taking the photos as well as being in the shot. I find that fascinating. Yeah, well, we both studied photography.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realise you did as well.
So we take the photos ourselves. There's lots of error, lots of wigs falling off, running back and forth. So we use self-timers.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things that go wrong on the shoot, but it gives us the sort of confidence together to not feel like if we invited other people into the shoot, it would make us feel a bit more self-conscious.
Okay.
And we laugh together and we work well together, and that intimacy with just the two of us gets better results. And also, I wouldn't want to drag other people into the ridiculous things that we do, because they're not always the most fun or comfortable.
Yeah.
But so we work together and we set the shot up and use timers, and it's a challenge. Yeah.
But there's one over your shoulder now. You're at that incredible Art Deco McDonald's, and but there would have been a crowd around watching, was there?
Got a lot of people beeping horns.
Yeah.
And despite popular belief, the wolf whistle is still in practice. But I don't know whether if they got close they would wolf whistle. But from a distance they might see your tight ass, or you know, like in a sequin suit.
Yeah.
Like, ooh.
Yeah.
So we do create a little bit of a distraction, but I think that's generous. I like that for people. I think what we do is very much based in the idea of giving people this magical detour from everyday life.
Yeah, and it must be very interesting when you're invited to be at functions and you arrive like this and you just wander through the crowd. It must freak some people out, does it?
It does, yeah. Some people just pretend you don't exist. Because you can see,
do they?
because you don't have a face. You know, often we're an object. You know, a moving piece of furniture walking through the space, and it's very interesting to watch the way certain people react. Some people think it's the most exciting thing. Some people are they pretend if I don't look, they don't exist, and don't come near me, don't touch me. So yeah, it's interesting.
And do you do it on purpose? Do you go and stand near those people, or are you?
We're quite. We honour, you know, someone's feeling that uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
The one thing that often makes me laugh is that, and it's often straight men that will be like, "Are you a chick or a dude under there?" And they're like, they just need to know what sex you are, even if you're a ball or a peach or, you know. And you feel like saying, "I'm not interested in having sex with you. Why does it matter?"
Yeah.
But we like to take away gender because there's so much freedom when you do that.
Yeah.
But people sometimes need to label things or feel comfortable if they know what you are. And we like to challenge that because I just think it's a stupid, like, that binary is so restricting. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was at a friend's place a few months back now, and in their record collection, their vinyl collection, they had an album of yours. Oh. Is there anything you haven't done?
No, well, we like to saturate the market. I just think it's great to say yes to things and to challenge yourself as an artist. So along the way, we sing and we dance, and you know, we were asked to bring the visual artwork to life on stage. And you know, some of our greatest heroes are performers, people like Grace Jones or David Bowie or Lee Bowery. And so we just said yes. And so we made albums and we write disco songs, and it's another way to take your art into places people may not see it, because not everyone goes to galleries and not everyone is into that world. So if you take your work to festivals or parties or, you know, and into music, it gives you a wider place to play.
Yeah. You've got this new exhibition coming. Well, what's it called, Gareth? What's it called?
It's called Disgraceland. It's on at the convent.
Right. Okay. And what is it? You know, I mentioned Elvis. Has he got something to do with it? Of course, Disgraceland.
Yeah. Well, we were asked, weren't we, by Catherine Martin to do some work relating to Elvis.
Whoa,
Vogue,
who's Baz Luhrmann's a wife?
Yeah.
So she was curating the Australian edition of Vogue Living, which was to tie in with the release of the Elvis movie. And she selected us as among a few Australian artists to respond to the maximalist approach of her design. And both of us kind of grew up loving, particularly someone like Little Richard, who I think Elvis was pretty much ripped off. but that extravagance that Elvis had, and both our grandmothers loved Elvis, and it's kind of a part of growing up when you see someone like Elvis in the way he brought a sexuality to masculinity and a femininity. He used to wear eyeliner and the way he wore tight suits and moved his hips. It was quite freeing as a young queer person seeing him, hoping he was queer, but he may not have been.
Yeah, well, you never know. You never know.
But we responded to that and in our own way, which was this kind of, we call it, you know, like it was a queer Elvis love story. We look a bit like alien Elvises, referencing glam rock and that kind of.
Yeah. Well, and you actually mentioned that if Elvis came back now, you know, how would he be accepted, you know, like as an alien or whatever.
But also, Elvis would have felt like in the 1950s, like an alien almost in small town America, which was very conservative.
Yeah.
The way that he, you know, obviously borrowed from Little Richard, and there was another performer called Escarita that worked with Little Richard. They're both people of color, and Elvis was attracted to this incredible rock and roll and adapted it. But the small town America was shocked and outraged. So we sort of interpreted that in our own way. And people also don't realize Elvis was born a twin, but sadly his twin did not survive after childbirth. But just that idea of two Elvises, was you know, everything we do is based on our sort of queer romance as a couple. Yeah. And so we sort of, you know, sometimes people say, are you brothers? And I say, no, we're lovers, not brothers. So we could be Elvis lovers, brothers, both.
I like the story of how you first saw him across a crowd. I was at a video store, which actually reflects to a movie that you like, which a video store features in that. What's the film? Murals.
Oh, sorry. So Garrett, I first saw Garrett working at a Video Busters, and was attracted. I thought, who's this sort of Heathcliff character? I was a big Wuthering Heights fan, and would go in there and try and peruse like sort of art house films to impress. But
and did he?
Yes, he did. Yeah. He did impress me. He came in enough and ordered enough films.
And we eventually met properly through at a party, a friend's party. But I do love the film Muriel's Wedding, which Muriel does work in a video store and that. But video stores were a big part of our childhood. Sadly, they're no longer a thing.
No. And then you met at a party. And did all of a sudden you realise, yep, this is it, or was it a little bit more than that down the track?
We kind of instantly bonded. We chatted and we both talked about mutual loves. Like we loved the films of John Waters and we loved Kate Bush. And you
went to London, didn't you, to see her those concerts she did about 10 years ago?
It was a pilgrimage. Yes, we went all the way to London to see Kate Bush perform. She hadn't performed in 30 years.
Yeah, it was once in a lifetime.
And what was it like? You know, like sitting there and everyone else would have been a Kate Bush, like a fan, and travelled probably from around the world somewhere.
Oh, it was incredible. She was amazing. It was what was interesting is she came out on stage and she started to just sing like Running Up That Hill and a few of her songs just with the band, and I thought, oh, I didn't really expect this. And then it just changed after 3 songs, and the whole set came out and it turned into this lavish kind of opera style show. It was incredible.
It was very theatrical and also not at all what you would expect. I think people thought it might be a greatest hits kind of. It was not like that at all. It was very weird, and she got hoisted into the air.
At the end, she flew up into the sky, and
wow.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. Well, what a great artist, and a great one for you guys, because she was so theatrical, you know, like, well, just you mentioned Running Up That Hill.
Yeah.
The video of that, you know, like it had was reborn again because of the TV series, but you know, like that video was a great video, and of course, Wuthering Heights. You know, like how everyone dresses up in red outfits and go and dance it in the park. Have you done that?
Yes, we have.
Yay! I thought all of a sudden as I was saying it, I thought, I bet you they've done that.
Kate Bush is a true individual, and someone that was on her own path and is not. She just follows her own belief, and it's so inspiring. She was also taught by Lindsay Kemp, who is an incredible queer performance artist and dancer, who also mentored David Bowie. And you can see in both Kate Bush and David Bowie a unique voice that's not like anyone else, and daring and eccentric,
and they're forever changing as well. You know, like and they were their own, you know, like art form in a way, weren't they? You know, like, so. You know, like, how do you see yourselves out there in the world as the Huxleys? You know, like not individually, but as that persona.
We describe it as queer wizardry to a disco beat. It's kind of, or like Hieronymus Bosch on the way to Studio 54. It's a bit of a surreal. We like to provide this sort of magic that life can be so dry and boring and challenging. It's fun to present an alternative world, that one that we didn't see growing up. We grew up in quite hostile suburban parts of, you know, Perth and Western Australia.
Yeah, I grew up on the Gold Coast in the early 80s.
Whoa.
So,
And
yeah,
you
very
didn't-
different.
Yeah.
You didn't see yourself or an alternative around you. The idea of being queer or being different was not celebrated or tolerated. And so we had to dream of a fantasy world where we did fit in. And then together we were able to create that.
And I think that's why our role models are so important to us, because when you're that age and you do find someone like, say, David Bowie or Boy George expressing themselves like that in pop music, they touch your heart. They mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
I remember discovering the photography of Cindy Sherman when I was a teenager as well, and I loved that she created, using herself as the artwork, created all these different identities for herself. It would have been so fun and so freeing, just that idea that you don't have to be, you can be anything you want. If you create it, you can dream it.
Yeah.
And for us, that's what we keep doing. We keep dreaming bigger and more glamorous.
Oh,
Your
really?
costumes are
Keep
bigger.
dreaming bigger.
Yeah. There's so much freedom when you step outside of what you've been given in the world and just create something spectacular.
But it must be a lot of money, you know, like on these costumes. Well, the fabric, because you're making the costumes. You know, like it must be tough for you, you know, like making money.
We don't do this to make money. If we added up all the hours we spend making things, we'd be rich. But we do it because we love it. And
of course.
We didn't wait around for people to say whether they loved what we were doing, because that would take forever. We tried for many years to get people to take us seriously. we wanted to do it, so we just put it out into the world. And you know, economic gain is not what we're about. And we do spend all the money that we make, we spend on our art pretty much.
Yeah. So have you got, apart from this exhibition that's happening at the convent, you know, like what do you see yourself, you know, let's say in 5 or 10 years' time? Are you just following this road, or have you got a plan?
Nothing's really ever been planned. And even us coming together, like we started working a little bit together, and people were like, oh, the Huxleys are here. And we're like, who are they? You know, what do you mean? And then, you know, and then singing and being asked to sing and perform was a surprise to us. So nothing's really planned. We just kind of keep snowballing.
And that is a smart thing in a way, isn't it? And, like instead of going, oh, in 10 years' time, we want to, play Rod Laver Arena. Well, I'm sure you probably will. But like it's good that you're just moving. But the more people that find out about you, the more popular you're going to be, aren't you?
We do have dreams. We would love to represent Australia at the Venice Biennale in a really spectacular fashion, or Eurovision.
Eurovision.
Say. Yeah. Like, there are ambitions that just creatively that would be fun to do. But we find saying yes to things is a good way to challenge yourself and put yourself into situations that you think, I can't do this. Because there's a great quote by Malcolm McLaren who said, it's better to be a spectacular failure than a benign success.
Yeah.
And we kind of live with that idea that you just, if you put everything into it, you're going to, like, if you love it, it's worth doing. Yeah.
Do you find though that you might scare people off, like Eurovision, the Australian entrant, not when you're at Eurovision, but as the Australian entrant, that, like it's a bit conservative where we're going now on that front. Do you think that you would be a little bit too out there for, like, which once you got there, they would love you?
We run a fine line.
We like to scare people. I think it's important to scare the right people because conservatism is so boring. And also growing up queer and being bullied and not being accepted. We call ourselves gay terrorists. We want to be as queer and as loud and extreme as possible. And if people don't like it, that's their problem. And I think it's great to push people's boundaries because art is supposed to do that. And as queer people, we will never stop because there's a beautiful photographer called William Yang who said to us recently, we worked with William at Sydney World Pride, and he said that all queer people want is for their stories to be told because for thousands of years they were not told and they were hidden. And so for us that's so important. And if people are scared or frightened, then our idea is to change their minds and to say, to laugh. Like a lot of our work is humorous as well because we know how ridiculous it is to look like this. But so I hope that it makes people smile and challenges them.
Yeah. Now you actually use a lot of like underwater, like sea creatures or native creatures you create as well. Why?
The natural world is endlessly inspiring to us, and we, as young queer people, that like drawing attention to yourself as a boy, even wearing the colour pink, I was told, oh, you can't do that. But in the natural world, those bright colours are strength and they're like danger and they're marveled at. So in the natural world, the most exquisite and over the top and exotic things are often celebrated, and we're so attracted to them. There's nothing quite as lurid as that is in the natural world.
Yeah, it's endless inspiration for the design of something, and the shape and the colours are incredible.
Nature's always more evolved than us. We did a series called Gender Fluids, which is about sea creatures and how they are gender fluid. Not all of them, but the ones that we represented, which was the nudibranch and the starfish. They can change genders, and it's just a natural evolution.
It's no big deal.
And it's taken humans so long to become comfortable with that idea of gender fluidity, and the natural world is so advanced and it's so beautiful, and it's also non-judgmental.
Well, true. But there was a time you were on the beach with a blow up that, and because there's only two of you trying to photograph, tell us that story.
Yeah, so we have a work which is called Vulnicura, and it's a celebration of, it's a giant inflatable vulva, which we use and we've performed with, and we're born from it. And it's a celebration of the beauty of where we've all come from, which is the woman's vagina, and it's our way of worshipping femininity. But it was a 4.5 meter sculpture that we made, and on the beach with the wind, it was almost blowing away, and it's us dressed as mini vulvas. And it was quite confronting. We tried to get up super early. We had a generator to blow it up, and we had to have a friend come and be there just in case it took off. But I kind of loved the idea, like performance artists blowing away in St Kilda. But yeah, we like to take the work into these natural environments and complement and show the beauty of the world. And a lot of our shoots, things blow away, wigs fall off. There's a lot of chaos, and we're always laughing at how ridiculous it is.
Yeah. there's also in your studio, I saw the other day, there's a beautiful parrot or cockatoo headdresses, which are just beautiful, and I could imagine, and I've seen photos of it, when you would wear that, I bet you it's a bit of a crowd pleaser.
Yes, the cockatoo. They were made for. We were asked to do a mural in the city of Melbourne, and it was exploring. They wanted a Christmas mural, but we were like, we didn't want it to be Americanized and overly commercial. So we took the inspiration from Australian native flora and fauna. We created costumes and artworks based on, koalas, cockatoos, kangaroos, emus, and also native flowers, the desert pea and wattle. It was really beautiful, and we love the natural world so much that it was really fun making those costumes and making that work.
And how special is that? Like here you are, it's on Swanston Street, where they're building the underground, and you've got that huge wall with all, like, it's you. And it was quite spectacular. It must be pretty exciting for you.
Yeah, it was a beautiful experience actually to watch how much joy it brought to people and how many people wrote to us, and just, it livened up the streets and people really responded to that work. I thought it brought a lot of joy, which was really beautiful.
Yeah, or joy, Christmas, hey?
Yeah.
It's also
important for us to take work into places that people would normally not see artwork or see queer representation. So I like that it was on the street and everyone was forced to see it. We like to go to places sometimes where we're not wanted, because that's where you can make a change or make someone smile. And it's fun to take the art onto the street.
Yeah.
It's art for everyone.
Yeah. So this Disgrace Lands, you're doing it at the convent. Are you taking that exhibition, like to other cities?
Maybe we'll be asked to go to Graceland itself. the Elvis the Foundation will probably be horrified.
Yes.
But at the moment it's just for the Abbotsford Convent, but we would be totally up for taking it on the road, because part of the show at the convent is a big queer party to tie in with Disgraceland, where we're inviting some of Melbourne's most exquisite performers to join us. It's a real celebration of rock and roll, but making it super queer, and celebrating the legacy of Tina Turner as well, who was instrumental in that whole world.
Yeah.
But we'd like to take this on the road.
Yeah, I'd love to. We could take it to where we shot it in Chiltern.
Yeah, we shot this series in regional Victoria, and there was quite a few alarmed locals.
We met quite a few curious folks.
Yeah, there was some farmers that were particularly taken with us.
I could imagine.
Yeah, but those are fun when you go to those places, but where they don't expect you.
We had some beautiful conversations with them. I think they turned up thinking, who are these, people from the city?
Yeah.
But we talked to them and we got on quite well, and they had our wigs on. So we crossed boundaries out there.
He asked me what sort of fella looks like you, and I just said one that's up for a good time.
And then we're like, okay, we're chatting.
He said we didn't look like the Elvis he remembered. And I was like,
well, you didn't dream it well enough.
Yeah.
Look, thank you so much for what you're doing. Like the joy you're bringing to people, and your artistic vision, and your photography and your costumes. I think you're going down in history, and I can't wait to see you in the NGV, an exhibition just on your stuff at the NGV. And if they don't do it, they're silly. Come on, NGV people, get off your bums and do something. So thank you, and thank you for dressing up today. As I said at the beginning, you're the first guest that have ever dressed up. So thank you so much for that.
We might start something.
Yeah.
You might. Yes.
You should have a dress code. People have to dress up.
Yeah, you have to dress up. Otherwise you can't come in. Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
No. Well, thank you for being who you are. I'm David Hunt. You'll be watching The Art Hunter, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.